I had I had kind of a lot of things go on this last week since our last call, and one of them was that we were gonna maybe stop talking about mindset and more talk about things that you could actually do to sell more real estate. And because of that, I thought, all right, well, let's talk some practicality. Let's talk things that work. So there's a couple things I want us all to pay attention to. We have actually started to experience a shift in the marketplace here in not all parts of Northern California, but certainly some of the more populated parts of Northern California. And what I mean by that is that about 10 days ago, one of my buyer's agents ran the search criteria for one of their buyers and had 8 matches. And then 11 days later, they had 15 matches. Okay, so what's that tell you instantly? More inventory. So the inventory in the city that I'm born and raised in, it's one of the biggest cities in Northern California. So the big cities would be San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose. How many of you that are not, like Vanessa, have you heard of those 3 cities, San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose?
Yes.
Yeah, because most people have, because they're really big cities, like typically in the million population range. Um, and so those are the ones that obviously are more prevalent in the marketplace. But I'm born and raised in a town called Fremont, California. And while it is suburbia, Fremont actually has 230,000 population. It's not a small town. The 2 towns around it, Newark, California, and Union City, California, that are right around there, are both under 100,000. Well, I think Newark's only about 45 or 50,000, and Union City's about 80,000. So they're both really small compared to Fremont. The reason I say that is I've always used Fremont as an indicator of the Bay Area market in my head, because it does play it's considered the gateway to Silicon Valley, and it is one of those like mandatory places. Gilbert, you're working where? The Inland Empire? Where do you work? You're on mute. Still don't hear you, buddy. I think we never got that problem fixed. You can type it in the chat. But the reason I ask this is that all of you work in an area like Bonita Springs, Kevin, Heidi works in the Pleasanton, California area. Andrew's in what they call South County, right, Andrew? I think you're South County in Los Angeles.
It's called the South Bay, not to be confused with the South Bay up there.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it is the South Bay. And the reason I bring that up is one of the things that does not, and tell me if I talked about this last week, because I've talked to so many people this past week and been a guest speaker on several things, is have I ever said these words, that active stats for active number of listings and pending listings are not memorialized in your MLS? Did I talk about that
last week?
Okay, good. So the reason I want to say that is that's one of the things that I use to indicate what's going on. But here's one of the things I'm noticing in the marketplace. People are asking you, me, the realtor, what do you think is going to happen in the future? And do you know that that actually carries a heavy load on the backs of most realtors who are not confident or don't feel secure in their answers? And the reason, what I wrote down yesterday for a class I did a little talk for a local marketing meeting. There was like 25, 30 people on it. I said, look, the rule is not that if you don't know how to predict the future market, you shouldn't get into real estate. That's not the fact. In fact, all you need to worry about in real estate is knowing the market you're in and keeping your fingers on the pulse of the market you're in. That is your job. Your client needs to know from you enthusiastically what's going on in the marketplace and whether or not it is going to affect their decision to purchase or not. But you also have to have some real solid confidence about the fact that if a buyer is buying for the sake of their personal residence, then they need to buy, period. They can't start worrying about will it go up, will it go down, because then they'll never buy. And it is going to do both after they buy it, period, end of sentence. All right. So one of the examples I used is the very, it was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The third home, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth, no, 2, 3. The third home I ever bought as a young man was $292,000 in September of 1989 in Northern California. All right. I was buying it for a personal residence for me and my family. And 3 years later, it was actually only about 2.5 years later, the property was worth exactly 20% less than I paid for it. And when I was telling my friends that, they go, "You're a realtor. How did you let that happen?" How did I let that happen? I'm a realtor. I don't control the economy. Okay. So it's very important that we start being more enthusiastic about what we know. Okay. And finding out more about how to communicate what the current market is. That's your job. Our job is to know the current market. Now, what are the conversations I'm having with sellers? The conversations I'm having with sellers is inventory is up. The strategy of starting your price low and having an offer date is still working very effectively here. The only difference is that we may need to start your price a little lower than we thought to drive more traffic to your home. Now, that may not be being done where you all sell. It is or it isn't, it doesn't matter, but that's what's being done here. In other words, people price the house a little at or a little below what it's worth, typically a little below, and then they supply the buyers with inspections, photography, everything they're going to need to make it a business. Almost 300 pages of disclosures. All right. That the buyer is supplied with, that they can go over and read and everything before they make a decision to buy the house. And typically somewhere between 7 and 10 days after the home goes on the market is an offer date, meaning don't bother sending your offer in because we're not looking at it. All right, we've announced the offer date. This is the date that the seller wants to look at offers. And because of that, we're able to communicate and actually help people with their value. I'm going to give you a solid example. I just had a listing client ignore my advice. Well, I said, let's list it for $899. And they said, no, let's list it for $999. And I said, well, I don't know at $999 that we should do the offer date because it's really not low enough. Well, we only got 3 or 4 showings over a week. Nobody liked it. We got one offer for $875, $125,000 under asking. Doesn't happen very often in this. They were very depressed and dejected. And I said, let's do this. Let's try my idea right now. And they said, what? I can't remember. What was your idea? I said, we listed at $899 and we set an offer date. All right. So we listed it at $899, set an offer date. We averaged 4 to 6 showings every single day until the offer date. We only got 2 offers, but the one that won was $980,000. Right? Only $20,000 off their original list price of $999, but nobody went to see it at $999. At $899, tons of people went to see it. So there's really some real solid reasons why that strategy works so well and why we should consider what is best for our seller. When someone tells me, listen, all of you are in different marketplaces, Vanessa's in Oklahoma, Gilbert's in the Inland Empire or down in Southern California, you know, Andrew's in the South Bay, Larry's in my area, Gina, I don't know where she is, Heidi, Pleasanton. There's so many people that I talk to that say, oh, well, that wouldn't work in our area. Actually, it would. When most other realtors tell me that the offer date strategy won't work, do you know who they're talking about when they say that wouldn't work? They're talking about other realtors and what other realtors will think and what other realtors will feel. When the fact is, if our true job is to represent the seller to the best of our ability, and you know something now that others in your marketplace don't know, right? Why are you going to let a home get sold within 10 hours for $20,000 over asking? Because if I was the one to talk to the seller, I'd tell you, how many people after 10 hours didn't even know your home was for sale that may have paid you more than $20,000 over asking, right? So there's that happy medium between knowing, like making sure that a good chunk of people and potential buyers got to know that your home was on the market, right? Look, is it unreasonable to think that if your home was only on the market for 10 hours or a day or 2 days, that tons of people didn't even know it was on the market yet? Like, I know Zillow's a big deal, but how many people don't go on Zillow for 2 days or so because they got busy? their kids had a game, they got busy at work, all kinds of different reasons. So it's not my job to tell you guys what to do or how to represent your sellers, but I just want to open up the mind a little bit about concepts that are working with representing sellers so that you're getting the most. But now if the market is shifting in my area, meaning there's more and more inventory, do I want to run to the buyers and say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, inventory is increasing. I don't want you to buy now because pretty soon the prices will drop. Well, I don't know that at all either, do I? Because they could shift down, and in a couple months the inventory could shift. The inventory could shift up now and shift down in a couple months. I don't know. I don't predict the marketplace. But what I do is, if I know the market of the moment, this market, if I know that inventory in the towns that I work in is up 20 or 30 or 40%, while pendings are only up 10 or 15%, then I'm smart enough to say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we have a rare opportunity right now, a little window, a little opening where we can get you a home without competing against so many offers, right? That's your language, positive, upbeat, enthusiastic. Let's get on the market. Do I go to the sellers? Oh, well, now there's twice as many homes on the market. Let's not sell your home. No, I don't say that either. I say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the market is opening up. There's more inventory coming on. If you're serious about selling, let's get together and talk about a strategy that will get you the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of inconvenience. And I know that strategy. Let me share it with you. Still enthusiastic, still positive, still upbeat about what you can do. Okay, so these are the ideas that I'm talking about working with, that there's got to be more conversations going on. I've said it over and over and again, like things are opening up everywhere, right? And there's still people out there that are a little paranoid of things opening up. There's a lot of people out there that can't wait for things to open up more. I talked to a very good realtor friend of mine in Toronto the other day, and she was telling me that things are totally still closed up there, and that they had opened up for a brief while and they slammed shut. This is in Ontario, Canada, the province of Ontario, Canada, including Toronto. And the reason why it's so important that you have a position on things, meaning a confidence level in discussing what's going on. I know depressing people who can take any change in the marketplace and find a reason why this could tell you that the market, the sky is falling. Oh, the sky is falling. Well, interest rates are still in the low threes. Inventory is still healthy enough. Buyers still have jobs, and there's a lot of people who want to buy and sell houses. Okay? So the marketplace is never the excuse for your success or for your failure. Okay, did you hear that? It's never the reason. The marketplace is never the reason for your success or the reason for your failure. That is always, right here. So I want you to be thinking about what are the tools that I'm going to need to break myself deeper and deeper into the market and get more of my unfair share. And what I mean by your unfair share is if you look at the Fremont, Newark, Union City area, there's approximately 250 to 300 sales a month in that area. Okay. 250 to 300 sales a month in that area, but there's approximately 1,300 agents that work that actually don't work that area, but that are housed in that area. In other words, their offices are in that geographical area. So think about that. San Gabriel Valley. Okay, thank you, Gilbert, very much. So I want you to think about that for a minute. So there's 12 or 1,300 agents who have their offices inside that geographical area, but thousands of agents that come and work in that area because they have buyers for it. The average sale prices in that area is $1 million. So if you had a buyer for it and that area is 30 miles from where you normally work, are you referring that buyer or are you driving the 30 miles? I think you're driving the 30 miles. I certainly am, right? Because I want that commission on that sale. So there's a lot of other people coming into those areas. What's the purpose of that thought is for you to understand that there are very, very few possibilities for you to have a transaction when there's 12, 1,500, maybe 3,500 or 4,000 agents working any one area, and there's only 250 sales a month in that area. All right. But if you focus on those, you'll never sell another house. All you got to focus on is what's something that we all have. We all have one thing. Every realtor has it. But for every realtor, that one thing they have is different, and that's called your network. That's why no matter what, you can be the best cold caller in the world, but if you're not working your network, you're missing out on a big opportunity. You can be the best door knocker or the best FISBO and expired caller, but if you're not calling your network, you're missing out on something. So I'm not saying I'm not saying just focus on one way. If you guys have, most of you have all been on business planning clinics with me, and I tell you, you have to have 4 pillars of income. 4, right? One of my biggest pillars is agent to agent referrals, meaning something like 70% of the business I do every year is agent to me referrals, not consumer, agent. What's the highlight of that? Tons of business coming in without me lifting up a finger. What's the downfall? Every piece of business has a referral fee going out. If you're getting business from your consumer database and your network, most of the time there's no referral fee attached. So just start thinking, start moving forward. Start, like, today is June 4th. We're at the beginning of you're going to think this is silly, but the beginning of the last month in the first half of the year. All right. Why is July 1st always a big deal to me? Because I personally use July 1st as a start over point. July 1st for me is the beginning of the second half of the year. And what can I do with July 1st? I can take a whole new beginning. I can erase the past. I could do that every single morning if I wanted, but I don't choose to. I choose to do it on July 1st. But every single morning you could say, I can erase the stupidity of yesterday and start out with the genius of today. Okay. I can start out being the best possible version of myself and starting to communicate with more people. Now, whether you do it or not, I can't do that, right? A guy came up to me last night. I was at a graduation for a personal development event, and a guy comes up to me and says, I almost bought a house from you many years ago. And I go, yeah. I said, you bought one from a friend that had it on the market by themselves and they lowered the price. He goes, yeah, I remember that. And I go, he goes, that house is worth like 200 grand more than I paid for it. And I said, good for you, man. That's really amazing. But he said, where's the best way for me to find out the actual value of my home? Should I just maybe get on Zillow or something? And I'm like, no, I think okay. And I said, you know what I said? I go, absolutely not. I whip a card out of my pocket. I'm all dressed up in a suit for this event, but I had put some business cards in my inside pocket. I took it. I said, absolutely not. The only thing you should do to determine the value of your home is call me. That's the only thing you should do. I said, Zillow doesn't have a helicopter. It has algorithms. And he goes, what's that mean? And I said, they don't fly over your house or come into your house to tell you exactly what you've done and determine if their algorithms are accurate for your personal home. I said, that's what I do. And I said, and I don't use Zillow to determine it. I actually use sales of comparable homes in your neighborhood. Okay. And I can tell of those comparable sales, which ones were improved as much as yours and which ones weren't. Right. So yeah.
What did you, could you repeat the helicopter thing again? That went by me too fast.
Oh, no worries. Thanks, Kevin, for asking. Yeah. So I said, Zillow doesn't have a helicopter. It has algorithms. And he goes, what do you mean by that? And I said, they don't fly a helicopter over and determine how your house looks, really. They have algorithms that are based on what are the sales in your geographic area. And I said, and then they've got them based on price per square foot and all these other things. I said, Zillow does work pretty well in a regular subdivision, but not all homes fall into, quote unquote, the regular subdivision. And I said, and sometimes Zillow isn't quick enough to notice the changes in the market as far as their algorithms go. I said, and I'm not beating up on Zillow. I said, they're using stats that we use, only they're using them in a different way. And, you know, we ended up having about a 15-minute discussion about why someone like me coming over to his home could give him a much more accurate value. But I'm probably not going to get any business out of that for a while from that particular guy because he's not selling. But think about the impression I made about him on my knowledge of the current market. That's all. So that's what I always say. The more we spread the wealth of the value that we have, that we are a professional real estate agent, we know the macro and micro markets. We know what's going on in our neighborhood. We know what's going on in our city. We know what's going on in our county. And we also know what's going on in our state. Yeah, could you know what's going on in other states? Yeah, right? But how often do you get asked about that? Now, I have a lot of friends in Minnesota and Michigan. Well, I have them in every state, thank the Lord for
And
that,
Florida.
and Florida. But when I talk about these, Florida doesn't have those ice cold winters, fortunately. But when I talk to my Minnesota and Michigan people at different times of the year, based on whether it's snowing or whether it just iced over, I get different feedback about the market and what's going on. And one of my Minnesota friends told me, gosh, you know, we went through a really cold winter, but we sold more houses in the winter than we've ever done in any year that I can remember before that. Well, right. Well, I said, well, this is not just any winter. This is a post-COVID winter, right? Or a in the middle of COVID winter. So it's been very, very amazing about the differences in the market. But with the increase in inventory this year, right now in June and the last part of May, in this area, in the Bay Area, that used to be what was normal for many years. We'd see an amazing strong market from January till May, and then we would see inventory start to increase. All right. So it's all good. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. You just got to know what's going on right now and be ready with a narrative, a positive, upbeat, enthusiastic narrative about that marketplace. All right. Now, I have talked to you guys before about, I want to stop right there. We're at about 27 minutes into the call. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions or anything specific about a dialogue or a script? Because I really want to help with this right now. So, anybody?
In regards to working with buyers right now, or what?
Buyers or sellers, I don't care.
Well, I know one of the things I'm struggling with, and I think everybody is trying to do these comps for my buyers that are just out of control as far as being overpriced. I want to call the agents like, what are you doing? What are you basing this on? You expect cash buyers to pay more? I don't even know how to I don't know what to say to them. I mean,
Okay.
my buyers are expecting me, to have to give him a good price to offer, but we're out of control down here.
Yeah.
You have to start at asking price, and then you're going to go 10, 20, 30% more. It's just crazy.
Okay. And that's happening in every single marketplace, right?
Right.
My marketplace is the one, my marketplace, 15 minutes from where I live, is where the San Francisco Chronicle wrote about a sale for 1 million over asking. 1 million over asking. A $2 million house went for $3 million. Okay. They asked 2 million, it went for 3. What was interesting about that particular case, I think I shared this with you guys, that one of my friends wrote an offer on that particular listing for 650,000 over asking and was bragging to me that he was sure he was going to get it. Okay. And he didn't, by a long way, by another $350,000 over. But the reason I say that, Kevin, about you is we have to remember to communicate to our buyer what we do control and what we don't control. We are your agent. The one thing we do control is that I will go to the ends of the earth to protect you and help you. And sometimes protecting you and helping you is me having to tell you that you're going to have to ignore the comparables on this one, because it is going to go way over what the comparables would even think would be logical. Like, right? And that's happening a lot for all of us. 41 years in the market, I see this home that in my first year in real estate in 1980, I sold a home similar to it for $42,000. My first year in real estate, and this tiny little POS home. All right. And call it whatever you want. You can make up whatever you want about those initials. I'm not telling you what they mean, but those tiny little POS home is listed for $1 million. $1 million, right? Like, I would rather buy something in another state that I can only visit once in a while for that much, that has much more going for it than being close to San Francisco or close to Napa. All right. So the reason I say all this is that when we get bogged down about what language to use, we're doing it because of things that we don't control. When we understand what we don't control, we've got really good dialogue. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we have actually 3 buyers we're working with right now that all of their appraisals came in low, but we had explained to them, one of them had an appraisal contingency, the other 2 didn't. We told them, you know what this means? Like, we had conversations, long ones, with the lender on the phone, that if it comes in short, you still have to buy it. You cannot legally back out, or you will put your deposit at risk. And the deposits here in Northern California, guys, are 3% of the purchase price. So if they're buying a $600,000 home, the deposit is $18,000. Who wants to walk away from 18 grand? I don't. So they're not necessarily walking away from it, but the seller would have a really good cause to take them to court and try to win that deposit. By the way, the statistics show that most deposits, when a buyer defaults, that 50% or more usually goes back to the buyer in a long, drawn out court case, but who wants that? So now the guy wants to rebut the appraisal. So we hook him up with the lender. He rebuts the appraisal. The rebuttal of the appraisal comes back and they added $1,000 to the value. He's still $14,000 off on value. He's like, I think I want to back out. I go, you don't have the right to back out. You can, but expect that the seller will pursue your deposit. Okay. Now, I can't control that he made his mind up after very logical step-by-step explanations with this guy about what it meant. He was sending us emails. This is how I'd like to write the offer. Every time we wrote him an offer, that got rejected. So Kevin, great question. And the fact is, we don't control the idiocy that's going on out there in prices, but the idiocy is not being driven by the real estate agents. It's being driven by the consumer, right? It's your fellow buyer that caused this, not me, right? So, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to point fingers or point blame, but I am going to make sure people know that's something I don't control, right? So, and it's the same with listings. You know, I listed a home for a lady the other day. She's 88 years old. She's lived in the same house since it was brand new, which is 58 years. And I called it South Park, which is the neighborhood right next to her where all the streets have similar names. And she goes, "This isn't South Park, young man. This is Parkwood." And she goes, "And I hear all you realtors always calling this South Park because it's right next door to South Park." And I go, "Oh my gosh, I love this. Tell me more about Parkwood." And turned out one of my older uncles that has since died that used to door knock in that area, he started out as a Fuller Brush man in the 70s and then became a realtor in the 70s. And I said, "Oh, he was a Fuller Brushman, so he got really good at door knocking. So when he turned into a realtor, he was a real solid door knocker." And you know what she says to me? She said, "Oh, I used to be the regional director for Fuller Brush in this area. He probably worked for me at some point." You know, like I'm like, "Oh my God." But she just wanted to tell me her knowledge of the house. She said, "Most realtors won't stop and listen to her. And what she liked about me is that I said, 'Tell me more about that. And do you have anything from the builder when you bought the home? And can I see it?'" Like I was enthusiastic and excited about having actual documentation from the builder for that area, because I sell a lot of houses in that area. How cool would it be to go to a guy that's lived there only 10 years and he's the fourth owner and say, "Hey, look at this. This is the copy of the original floor plan of your home," you know, stuff like that. Anyway, the reason I say that is she said, "Now I heard you telling my daughter that there was a shift in the market." I said, "Yeah, there's more inventory on the market, but the good thing for you is in your geographic area neighborhood, there's actually nothing on the market and there's 6 under contract, 6 properties under contract, nothing for sale and tons of solds." So I said, as it affects your little micro tiny neighborhood, you are not being affected by increased inventory right now. So we can take advantage of that and help you to get more money for your home. Case by case basis, guys. So yeah. Thank you, Kevin. That was a really good open discussion that you got out of me. So anybody else have something that they want to share about scripts, dialogues, how to be enthusiastic in the marketplace? I have people that call me from all over the world and say, "Rick, are you still using the term unbelievable?" Because I used to teach classes around the country. And I'd say, when someone asks you how the market is, you just say unbelievable. And this is what one guy said, excuse my language, but he said, "Even when it's shitty," I go, "Nobody knows if you mean unbelievably good or unbelievably bad, right? You just say unbelievable and say it with a lot of passion. And if they challenge you, be ready. Be ready with statistical evidence that it's an unbelievable market, right? So for instance, remember the market of 2007 to 2010, nothing was really selling. And you had buyers who, when they said, "This is my price range," you'd look and there was like 150 homes for sale in their price range, right? And how would you narrow it down? Well, guess what we were doing? We were teaching about something called tier 1 and tier 2 properties. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are you thinking about buying tier 1 properties or tier 2 properties, right? That would be the question. And what did every buyer say? What the hell is a tier 1 or tier 2 buyer, right? So I'd say, well, a tier 2 property. I said, well, a tier 2 property is, let me ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, Mr. and Miss Buyer, you guys listen to this dialogue. On a scale of 1 to 10, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, with 10 being if you saw your dream home today, it had everything you were looking for, price, area, neighborhood, condition, everything. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being you'd buy it today and 1 being you'd buy it next year, when would you buy it? And they said, oh, I'd be about a 7. I go, a 7? Okay, what would a 7 mean? Well, we'd take some pictures, we'd send them to our parents. They'd tell us if they like it. They might fly out to look at it. And so maybe 2 months down the road, we'd be able to buy it after we'd seen it. I go, great. Then you'll want to only see tier 2 properties. And they go, what's a tier 2 property? I go, tier 2 properties are properties that could possibly, most likely, still be on the market by the time you've done all that. So I promise you, I don't want to waste your time. I'm not going to show you tier 1 properties. And they say, wait, what's a tier 1 property? I go, tier 1 property are the best properties on the market. No matter what the market's like, whether it's declining or increasing, these properties are going to sell within the first 2 to 3 weeks of being on the market. Sometimes it's because of school district, sometimes it's because of neighborhood, or sometimes it's because of the improvements, or sometimes it's because it's the worst house on the block and everybody wants to make some money on it. But those tier 1 properties, if I show them to you, I'm going to be wasting your time. And you're going to be mad at me if I show them to you. They go, what? I go, yeah, if I show you a tier 1 property and you take all that time to call your parents and send them a video and wait for the money to get in, it's going to be sold. And then you're going to be upset at me for having shown it to you and not figured out a way to keep it for you. And you're going to be all mad at me and you will have wasted your time. So let's not look at tier 1 properties. You guys good with that? You know what they always say? No, we're not good with that. How can we look at tier 1 properties? Well, tier 1 properties are reserved mostly for people who are 9s and 10s, meaning on a scale of 1 to 10 with buying it today, you're going to be either a 9 or 10, and you're really going to be acting urgently to get the property. That's not up to me, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. It's totally up to you, and I'll do whatever you want. I don't want to push you along. I don't want to drag you along. I want you to come tell me how you want it, and I'll go along with you that way. And man, that dialogue worked so good between 2007 and 2010. We were teaching that dialogue all around the country, right? How to make buyers in an unurgent market become urgent. We used to call it buyer urgency. Very appropriate name for the class. So, all right. So there's lots of different dialogues you can have about buyers, and you can even have a tier 1 or tier 2 conversation in today's world because there's still those properties out there. Like I look in every market I've looked in where things are flying off the shelves. I swear to God, I did not want to find one market out of about 30 cities I looked in that didn't have at least 3 properties that were on the market more than 60 days. At least 3. Okay, and you go, well, wait, it's a super hot market. Everybody's got a clunker, guys. Every market's got one of those ones that's just going to sit there. Maybe they didn't listen to the realtor. Maybe the realtor overpriced it. A lot of people say, where the hell did you get that price? I go, my seller. Because who makes the final decision on what you list a home for? Not you. If you think you do, you're probably in the wrong business. All right. So yeah, can't imagine, why'd you do it? Those kinds of things, man. When I listed that house that I talked about for $999, I had so many people go, God, that thing is overpriced. I go, yeah, you think? Where'd you get the price, Rick? Seller. That's what they wanted. So all I care about is that my seller got what they wanted and they can close escrow and move forward. All right. All right. So these are really good discussions. I love these kinds of discussions because because it's the kind of thing that really starts to change how we work in the marketplace. All right. So if nobody has any more, I'm going to move on to one little subject I want to cover, and then we'll end the call. Anybody else got something? All right. I did want to welcome, I thought I saw Vanessa. I thought I saw Colin on here, but I don't see him now. But anyway, tell him I said hi.
He was on. I don't know where he went.
Oh, he's trying to get back in again. Okay, I got him. All right. Okay, there he is. Okay, Colin, welcome, buddy. I was trying to say hi to you, and somehow you disappeared, but there you are again. So thanks for being on. All right.
Sorry, I got a phone call I had to answer.
No problem, buddy. No problem. Okay, so here's one thing I want to talk to you about. This is more on the mindset side. I've told lots of people the story about my wife and I met just because she had a brand new license at the beginning of 2005, and she was sitting in a class that I happened to be teaching for Keller Williams at the time. And I was still married, but I was on my way to a divorce. And after the separation, I started dating the lady who owned the Keller Williams office she was in. And so about a year later, in May of 2006, this lady, Casey, who today is my wife. I didn't really know her that well. She'd sit in several classes and stuff, would come to me and my girlfriend at the time and keep asking us to consider taking this personal development course and that it could be life-changing. Well, my girlfriend was a little bit of a snob ball, and she'd say, we're good, thanks. Yeah, don't bother us with that. So, and you know, I was kind of intrigued because she was so young and knew so much. And she was only in real estate a year and a half, and she was already in the top 25 in an office of 200 agents. So a year and a half and 2 years in the business, not even quite 2 years in the business, but she was number 25 in an office of 200 agents. So I was pretty impressed. So she kept pursuing me, saying like twice a month, she'd call me and say, hey, I'd really love to talk to you about taking this course. And I was like, what the hell? You know, could you leave me alone? You're this beautiful young lady, and my girlfriend gets mad every time I talk to you. So, you know, she'd drop hints every month to me and my girlfriend about this course. Well, fast forward a couple of years, and that lady and I are now broken up. We're not dating. It's April of 2008, and I get another call from Casey about this course. She goes, listen, she was super high D, direct. I want to sit down with you and talk to you about this course. I don't want to waste your time, and I certainly don't want to waste mine. So don't tell me you'll come and listen if you won't. Can we meet sometime this week and talk about that course? And by this time, it's been 2 years. I'm pretty intrigued about the course, and now I don't have to worry about a girlfriend being jealous if I meet with this lady and talk to her about the course. So we meet. The meeting ends up being about 3 hours long. She was drinking mojitos, and I was drinking iced tea. Mojitos, iced tea. The one thing that impressed me about it is the girl's 18 years younger than me. She's in her early 30s. I'm in my early 50s. And she knew so much about life, results, productivity, activity. She knew a lot about these subjects, and I was pretty intrigued by it. We call that day our first date, even though it was technically not supposed to be a date. Why do I bring it up? At that meeting for 3 hours, I committed to going to this 3-day course. It was a all-day Friday, all-day Saturday, all-day Sunday. That put me on a path of personal development that I had never heard of before. I'd been to Tony Robbins. I'd been to things like that, Zig Ziglar. And I realized those were more rah-rah types of personal development. No offense, love them both. Think some of their comments are genius. But these were more personal and intimate courses where you really got to take a look at yourself and start to see for yourself how you have gotten these results that you've gotten in your life and why. All right. Why have you gotten all the results you've had? Why has your life gone in the direction that it's gone, right? Whether you love it or not, it's still good to find out why. I was talking to a friend of mine who's been very involved with that company in those courses last night. And I asked him, I said, when you're talking to people about really what it's like, what do you tell them? This is what he said. You guys are going to love this. He said, you ever been to a party and, you know, you're trying to look your best and be your best. And he said, and then maybe a couple hours later, you go into the bathroom and you realize there's a piece of parsley on your mustache and it's been sitting there all night and no one's told you that, or that there's green stuff in your teeth and no one told you. He said, it's like that. I said, how is it like that? He goes, because taking this course is like being the one who comes up to you and says, hey, you got a little green stuff in your teeth. Take care of that. He said, it allows you to have such a really good look at yourself that you can start to see what you could do differently so that you could create the results you want. Why am I bringing this up right now? Well, I went to this personal development graduation last night, and I stay very involved with the personal development community because it's changed my life completely, changed my results, changed my life. The name of this company, I'll put the company name in here. I am not selling it. When my wife told me about it, finally, I said, are you being paid? That was part of our 3-hour conversation. I said, are you being paid? Why do you pursue people so much about taking this course? She said, of course I don't get paid. It's a small company. It's word of mouth. And I said, and so why do you pursue people? And she said, because I saw what it did for my life and I want other people to have that. I said, that's pretty cool. I said, okay, put that aside. You saw what it did. And most of you have heard this line before because I've told it so many times. Is I said, okay, all those people, great. Why pursue me? I'm an instructor in classes that you've been in. We don't really know each other that well. I'm much older than you. She goes, oh, I pursued you because I see you so much bigger than you see yourself. And this is the kind of course, ladies and gentlemen, by her telling me about this course, she realized that I could be even a much bigger, better version of myself having taken this course. Again, 3 days. It was like I took 3 days of Anthony Robbins and paid $3,000. This was 3 days for $800, right? I was like, all right, $800, not bad considering my Anthony Robbins experience and my Zig Ziglar experience and my, Jim Rohn experiences, all those things. So I signed up for the course, and it began the trajectory to change my life. And Carson, the guy I was talking to last night, said to me, what do you think you'd have to give back right now if you never took these courses? I said, pretty much everything that means anything to me, I'd have to give back. I'd have to give back this amazing relationship that I have with my wife. I'd have to give back the amazing relationship that I have with my kids. I'd have to give back several $1 million that I've earned by becoming a bigger, better version of myself and understanding my role and creating my results. And I went on and on. He goes, wow, you should tell more people that. And I thought about it. I go, there was a guy there last night that's on this call. And I looked down and I said, he looks familiar. He came up to me, he goes, Rick, thank you so much for contributing and pouring into me. That's what he said. He goes, thanks so much for pouring into me every week. And I go, I'm sorry, where do I pour into you? He goes, on your Friday coaching calls. And then he told me his name, and what he looked like in person was similar because he never is on camera. He's always got his picture up here. And he is part of that personal development world. I said, well, how did you find out about my Friday coach? He goes, well, I'm a realtor, and another realtor told me about it. But he said, I didn't know at the time that you'd done all this personal development work with the same company that I do personal development work. Long story short is, this class has been life-changing. They teach it not all over the United States, but in several areas. So I'm going to put it in here and have you guys, take a look at it if you want. If you want more information, you can always reach out to me, and then I would gladly talk to you about it. The changes I had. I don't get any money for this. It's just something that I believe can be life-changing. The name of the course is called The Basic, and I put that in there. So you guys can look at that. But here's what I want you to remember. There's a ton of people who've taken Landmark Forum or they've done other work. Work is work. Working on you is the #1 way to exceed your business, to create different results. Kevin and I have been friends for a long time. We're always chatting back and forth about our mindset and how we can break through our obstacles. That's why I love when he's on here, because I feel like I'm being challenged just by him being on here to be a better version of me, right? So Kevin has run very successful businesses. He's got a great background. That's what I love, is like, I want to be improved also. I don't want to just talk about how I got where I am. I want to talk about how can I get even further than I am now. So I just love coming on here and sharing, and we're going to do some more interesting things next week about understanding ways that we can create bigger results in this market. And what I'd love for you to come back to the call with next week, ladies and gentlemen, is an understanding of what's going on inventory wise in your personal market. Okay, not your state, not your county, but your local market that you work in, because I want to use that to determine scripts and dialogues that we can use for each particular market. Okay. And Cindy, I didn't say so, but nice to have you back on the call again. So, all right. That's all I got for today. I look forward to hearing from you guys if you need anything. And geez, have an incredible weekend. As you can see from the sky above me, it's probably going to be a beautiful weekend here in Northern California. So, all right. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.